election is because there was a very strong feeling in the country that the PNM was spending too much money, and that the projects that the PNM had embarked upon largely in the capital city were not the highest priority for the country. And at that time, the country was earning the most money we were ever earning in the history of this country. But the PNM lost an election on that basis. Strangely enough, now that we have less money and the revenues are shrinking, and the government has been in office now, they presented 3 budgets and they presented absolutely not a single idea which would give you the comfort that the economy could grow so that the government's revenues could increase. The 3 budgets presented by the current government were the largest budgets ever presented in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And I want you here in Tobago to understand what that means. It means just at the time that we're having less revenue, we are spending more. And to keep where we are marking time in the same place with no growth or even recession, we are borrowing billions of dollars to keep the budgetary expenditure where it's at and growing. So 2010 was bigger than 2009. 2011 was bigger than 2010. 2012 was bigger than 2011. And the only way the government explains that is to try and fool you or lie to you. But there are 2 Tobagonians in the parliament and the government. Both of them are in the government. You know what their position was in the budget debate last week, where the country approved in the parliament $58.4 billion for the next 12 months. The largest expenditure ever approved by the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. And in that $58.4 billion, you would have heard from the Chief Secretary a few items of expenditure approved for Tobago, and they were all way below what your requirements are. 10% of what you asked for some key programs. You have major construction programs which should have been completed. There are delays with them for one reason or the other, but mainly funding arrangements. You know what is required now to finish them. You're getting far less than you require. And that would mean that the projects will not be able to be completed in the short term as they should be. But guess what is the Tobago MP's position in the parliament? Based on their attempt to scandalize Orville London and Anselm London and the executive in Tobago, to try to tell you that all of a sudden, not the years that you've known him, but all of a sudden some wind blew through Tobago last year and London suddenly turned corrupt. But I wish them well in convincing you, the people of Tobago, that those mouths that are talking have any authority to call anybody in Tobago corrupt.